Testing, testing. Okay.
The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Odenberg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Orion.
Here.
Alderman Balmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge.
Present.
President Green.
Present.
Alderman Odenberg. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Spencer. 13 present.
A quorum being present, we will be led in opening reflection and prayer by Galen Gritz with the Indigenous St. Louis Cherokee Nation.
OCO, Dakwadoa Galen Grits, Chalasi Sedelawa'i Degegai St. Louis, Wado. Hello, my name is Galen Grits. I am a Cherokee from St. Louis. Thank you. Thank you for sharing some time with me today and letting me be here. I've been a lifelong resident of both St. Louis County and St. Louis City since I was born 71 years ago. And I appreciate the very earnest and sometimes difficult work that this group does. Native Americans, oh, by the way, happy Friday. And also, this is a prayer wrapped up in a reflection. Native Americans knew that this area was special because they have lived here for 12,000 years. This measuring stick is 12,000 years of how long people have lived here. This area here is when Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet floated by St. Louis exactly 350 years ago this year in 1673, thus becoming the first Europeans to come by here. This is what we know as history. This is colonization, the Revolutionary War, when the phone was invented, and Nellie's first CD release party. This is what we know as American history. We do not know the rest of it generally, and it was engineered that way for us not to know. Now, I've had the good fortune earlier this year to get involved with some individuals from the History Museum, the Art Museum, Botanical Garden, St. Louis U, Wash U, St. Louis U, and other institutions, and also other Native community members. And we are working as the Indigenous St. Louis Working Group to publicize Native themes that occur in this area. We have a monthly newsletter, and if you want to get on that list, it's just one email a month about what's going on with the Pulitzer, the St. Louis Art Museum, the History Museum that have Native themes. Just let me know, and I'll get you on that list. It's important that we do this because, number one, it's the correct thing to do, is to recover the lost history. The other thing is, I speak a lot, and people are always interested in Native American things. So it's profitable because people all over the globe will realize if St. Louis starts paying attention to its Native people. Plant an acorn, and we can grow an oak. Wado, thank you.
Thank you so much. We will dispense with the regular order of the business of the day to take up the special order of the day, We'll begin by taking up the courtesy resolutions consent calendar. Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we adopt the courtesy resolutions calendar. At this time, I would like to invite Alderwoman from the 10th up to the dais to present on resolution number 114.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to ask that the clerk reads Resolution 114.
110.
Oh,
There is no 114.
Yeah, it is. It's right.
I don't have 113 or 114.
how fitting, Resolution 110 in the power of 10.
Resolution 110 honoring Mr. Gary Boyd. Whereas it has come to the attention of the Honorable Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis of the many accomplishments of St. Louis' very own Gary, King of Hospitality Boyd, and his upcoming induction into the University High School Hall of Fame. Whereas he has over 45 years of experience in the hospitality industry, working professionally with various hotel chains, convention bureaus, groups, corporations, in all of the major cities of the United States. Whereas Mr. Gary, known for being one of the best and brightest hospitality directors in the world, has worked with countless fraternities, religious organizations, and social organizations, and the Universal Circus. Whereas he has the experience of planning and producing events all over the St. Louis region, throughout the United States, and internationally. Whereas in January of 2014, the Them Yo People show debuted with Mr. Gary, the King of Hospitality, as the host, which attracts thousands of household viewers on a weekly basis. With Mr. Gary's man-on-the-street format of the show, he goes into various communities to educate, engage, excite, and entertain a wide diversity of viewers. Whereas Mr. Gary has strong commitment to hospitality and the community, making sure that Yo People, families, organizations, and small businesses are highlighted and appreciated, standing in the gap. Far too many times, the media fails to identify and celebrate the average everyday people. He has interviewed a wide variety of celebrities and national leaders, such as David Letterman, Ozzie Smith, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Evander Holyfield, Judge Maybelline, Maxine Waters, and many elected officials. Whereas Mr. Gary is the host of a weekly syndicated Them Yo People radio show on Streets 105.1, creating space to highlight all that is good in the region to immeasurable listening audience. Whereas on Friday, September 29, 2023, Mr. Gary, University High School class of 1982, will be formally inducted into the University City High School Hall of Fame, along with other notable honorees. Now therefore, let it be resolved by this Honorable Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberation to recognize and congratulate Gary, the King of Hospitality Boyd, on his many acts of service and accomplishment and his induction into the University City Hall of Fame. We further direct the clerk of this board to spread a copy of the resolution across the minutes of the proceedings and to prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented to the honoree at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 29th day of September 2023 by the Honorable Shameen Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman of the 10th Ward.
Ooh. All right, my remarks are gonna be short, sweet, and to the point, just to say thank you. And while I'm saying that thank you, I would invite you to come up to the podium, to the dais. Mr. Boyd, thank you for being one of the many things and one of the many reasons that I love St. Louis. And when I need to find a reason about how much more I love St. Louis, you always have one. Thank you for creating and keeping and loving the narrative of what's great about St. Louis, and then doing what we all have a responsibility to do, and that's share what's great about St. Louis. there's so many naysayers and so much that goes and that people want to highlight that goes bad, but you highlight what's good, which gives us a balance and gives people like ourselves a reason. It encourages us to keep going. You encourage me to keep going. So thank you. You deserve all of this. I would like everybody in the room that is here for Mr. Boyd, the King of Hospitality Board, to stand, please.
Okay.
And after he speaks, everybody's going to want to stand, because I know we have some other amazing, great people in the room. So we have another, we want to pause before you speak with this, because we have another presentation for you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Boyd. Mayor Jones in room 200 agrees with the Alderwoman and this great board of Aldermen. And Mayor Jones actually proclaims today as Mr. Gary Boyd Day in the city of St. Louis. Well, what do you say? What do you say? Okay. Good morning. To the President, to all of our fine elected officials, I say on behalf of the residents of St. Louis, thank you all for your hard work and for all that you all do. Your Honor, Shameen, I just cannot say enough to Mayor Tashara Jones, cannot say enough. When I started this journey, and I'm not talking about the journey of them, your people, when I started the journey growing up in St. Louis, see, the one thing no one wants to admit is that when we travel all over these United States, when people ask us if we're from University City, if we're from Chesterfield, we don't say that we're from Pagedale, Pine Line, West County, North County. They say, where are you from? And everybody says St. Louis. So St. Louis is it. I was born in St. Louis. I was born on the south side of St. Louis, right? Okay, I was born at Homer G. Phillips Hospital. And so I want to let you all know that I stand here with ancestors from the Boyd family, from the Booth family. And that is the reason why I was always taught to do a little better and give your very, very best. And sometimes when you give your best, my pastor, Reverend Koch, would say, it hurts. You know what? It does hurt. But what hurts even more is when people just don't get it. If you're involved in anything that does not start with and end with love, 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 that's all it is. And that's all you have to ask yourself every time. Is what I'm doing, is it about family? Is it about community? Is it about love? So today, it is all about love as I welcome over 15 people to St. Louis from all over with different states. 15 states represented. So those of you all that are here with me that came from out of town, I want you all to stand up so St. Louis can see that this is it. And this is just some of them. So I thank you all who's ever watched my television show. I thank everyone who's ever poured into me, with me. So to my family, to my friends, to the legislators, you all are my family. And guess what? Y'all must be my people. So what do you say? What do you say? It is Mr. Gary. And as the mayor, as the president said, it's officially Mr. Gary Weekend Day in St. Louis. So guess what? Let the party begin. Okay? Okay. Thank you. All right. And since it is my day, go to your favorite restaurant and tell them it's Mr. Gary Day and we eat free, right? Now, if the papa come for you, I ain't got nothing to do with that if you don't pay your bill. Take care. Thank you all.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
President, I just got to greet everybody down.
Yeah.
Thank them. I'm
Go
sorry.
right ahead.
Look, this only happens once in a lifetime.
Go right ahead. Alderwoman from the 6th.
I would I would like to make a motion to make this resolution 110 in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we make resolution number 110 in bank. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. At this point in time, I would like to move on to resolution number 112 and invite Mr. Gary Bush up to the podium. And at that time, Madam Clerk, could you please read the resolution?
Resolution 112, recognizing the National Jurisdiction AIM Chairperson Network, Bishop Linwood E. Dillard. Whereas Bishop Linwood Dillard has devoted his life to the service of God and humanity, embodying the principles of faith, leadership, community, and engagement. Whereas Bishop Linwood E. Dillard, the founding pastor of the Citadel Deliverance Church of God in Christ, has played a pivotal role in establishing one of the most vibrant and rapidly growing ministries in the Memphis area. Whereas Bishop Linwood Dillard shares his life journey with the gracious Mrs. Stephanie Marie Dillard, and together they are the loving parents of 2 daughters, Faith and Joy, as well as son Linwood III. Whereas Bishop Linwood E. Dillard's unwavering commitment to spreading the message of God's love and grace has touched countless lives through his evangelical deliverance and pastoral leadership, leading to the salvation of souls, healing of bodies, and transforming lives, breaking down barriers of social, racial, economic, and denominational divisions. Whereas Bishop Linwood E. Dillard is not only a gifted preacher, but also anointed musician, author, administrator, businessman, and director whose leadership skills, organizational abilities have been widely recognized in both religious and social communities. Whereas Bishop Dillard tirelessly dedicated to the Church of God in Christ is evident through his extensive service, including roles as Youth Department President, Chairman of the Jurisdictional AIM Convention for the Tennessee Central Jurisdictional COGIC, Executive Assistant to the Bishop and President of the International Youth Department of COGIC, Chairman of the International AIM Convention, Prelate Establishment of the Tennessee Metropolitan Jurisdiction. Whereas Bishop Dillard's visionary leader has led the Auxiliaries in Ministry Convention, the annual summer convention of the Church of God in Christ, geared towards spiritual enrichment, training, education, and fellowship. The convention, a family-involved experience, brings together 5 auxiliaries of the church: music and youth, mission and evangelism, and Sunday school, as they share 3 conventions in one setting. Delegates include people of all ages throughout the United States and 56 countries abroad. Bishop Dillard's outstanding contribution have earned him numerous awards, recognitions, including his selection by Ebony Magazine as one of the 30 young leaders under the age of 30 who have made remarkable strides in their respective fields. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the City of St. Louis Board of Aldermen that we pause in our deliberation to recognize and honor Bishop Linwood E. Dillard of the Church of God in Christ for his continued dedication to serving his community faithfully. We further direct the Clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of the resolution of these proceedings, to prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 29th day of September 2023 by the Honorable Megan E. Green, President of the Board, and Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman of the 10th Ward.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Today we're honored to have representatives from the Church of God in Christ and the National Jurisdiction AIM Chairpersons Network, led by Bishop Linwood Elijah Dillard. Bishop Dillard is stuck at the airport still at the moment, so Mr. Gary Bush is here to accept both resolutions today. But Bishop Dillard heads the annual Auxiliaries and Ministry Convention, focusing on spiritual enrichment, training, education, and fellowship. The convention offers internships, recognizes contributions through AIM honors, and the 20 Under 40 Awards, and celebrates education with AIM scholars. It's a family-oriented event combining 3 conventions into one, bringing together the church's auxiliary of music and youth, missions and evangelism, and Sunday school. With the Board of Aldermen, please help me welcome to the City of St. Louis, Mr. Gary Bush on behalf of Bishop Dillard. Please come on up.
Thank you. I am so honored to stand in the place of Bishop Dillard. We are just so honored to Madam President and to all of the aldermen and alderwomen that are here on today. We appreciate you recognizing our group, and I would like our group to stand. We are here for our summit and retreat in the city of St. Louis. We love St. Louis. And we just want to thank you on behalf of Bishop Linwood E. Dillard. We would just want to thank you for this tremendous honor on Gary Boyd Day, I believe it is. Yes. All right. So we share your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to make sure you have this one as well. Thank you. Any further discussion? Aldermen from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I would just like to make a motion that we pass this resolution in bank.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 14th, seconded by the alderwoman from the 13th, that we pass resolution number 112 in bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 11th, did you? Okay, I thought I saw your hand go up. You're good. All right, well, thank you very much. And we welcome you to the Board of Aldermen chambers today, and feel free to stick around for our meeting. Shouldn't be too long today, but we definitely welcome you to the city of St. Louis and to city government. So with that, it's been moved by the alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the alderman from the 5th, that we approve the courtesy resolutions calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Before I introduce my honored guests, I would like to ask that we pause and have a moment of silence for Tony Brown.
If we could please bow our heads for a moment of silence for Mr. Tony Brown, who was Marshal in the city of St. Louis.
All right. If you all remember, Mr. Brown was just a week ago standing back there in the corner, kind of behind where the camera is now. So it's just a reminder of how precious every day of our life is, and not to take it for granted, not a second, right? And so with that, I would, it's so many people in this room. We have so many honored guests. I know we've already named names, but I want to make sure that I acknowledge my state representative, Mr. Dale Taylor, is in the room. And one of my favorite constituents, Miss Lita Price Land, is in the room. And Miss Marnie Gales, we could go on and on. I also want to say happy birthday to Judge Nicole Colbert-Botchway. Happy birthday, sis. Enjoy your celebration and everything that comes with it. Thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk and members of the board. I got several honor guests, so I'll try to keep it quick. First, I would like to have as my honor guest Mr. Clint McBride from the Laborers, Mr. Dave Sweeney, his shirt and pants that comes every week, very stunning. Also would love for my honor guest to be my former colleague, freshman state representative, Mr. Dale Taylor. Had a fabulous time working with him. He's such an advocate. Fighting for the people of the city of St. Louis and Jefferson City. And last, but definitely certainly not least, my honor guest, that somebody who means a lot to me personally. I want to introduce Mr. Dr. Jason Groh, who's in the back. He serves as the chief of staff currently to Senator Carla May. He used to be the chief of staff to Senator Jamila Nasheed. As a former state representative over my last 4 years, the way that the chambers work, only way you get stuff done is once it get out the House, they got to go to the Senate, and then once it go to the Senate, it got to go to the governor's desk, and you got to keep fighting. But Dr. Gross was such not just a mentor, a friend, and a huge support system to a new state rep like myself that was able to help get a lot of bills that affected the city of St. Louis, helping us move forward to the governor's desk to ensure that the residents of the city of St. Louis actually had legislation that helped and protect us when the other side always wanted to attack St. Louis. So to Dr. Gross, thank you so much for being a friend. Thank you for being a mentor, and thank you for always uplifting the next generation of representatives and young leaders across the state of Missouri. Thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from the 11th.
Here you go, lady.
Here we go, pass the mic. Yes, I'm going to stand. I was always taught in public speaking that you stand to address your audience. So I want to thank the members of our staff who moved me from last to first today. I got moved up from the children's table, but you gave me a short mic that doesn't work. So you're almost there. You're getting it right. But I want to just call dibs on our state representative, Dale Taylor. Dale Taylor and I go way, way back to when I met my husband back in 1984, and he was the best friend and neighbor of my brother-in-law, Jared. And I want to publicly thank him for his attention and for his giving spirit when my in-laws lived directly across the street from him, and they had various issues. You know, he had no problem walking out of his house across the street to make sure that James and Demetria were doing okay. And that speaks volumes as to the man he is and the level of commitment and love that he has for family, basically, you know, and the community. So thank you again. I'm so happy to be at this end of the table. I'm gonna get to that center sometime, maybe next week. Hint, hint. Thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from the 10th, I'll go back to you, and then I'll do this side.
Okay, I just want to make sure, I know we did recognize you all, but I would like for you all to please stand and be our honored guest. This is the group of the National Jurisdiction AIM Chairpersons Network of the Church of God in Christ, who are here for their annual summer retreat. Thank you all, and you all are honored guests.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I'd like to introduce a queen that is amongst us, and that how dare Mr. Boyd sit there and not acknowledge the queen that sits beside him. We all know her as the queen of everything in the city of St. Louis, Miss Murdine Fielding. And I'd also like to invoke my former colleague, Sam Moore, as I sit here and look at the members of the Church of God in Christ, four of which I grew up in Decatur. 4 members of my family belong and are bishops and ministers in the church. But Sam Moore would have been here relishing this. And so, I mean, he pushed he'd call me up, Sharon Tyus, I know you're on the other end of that phone, and I need you to come help me do X, Y, Z. So when I see all of you here, I'm thinking about Sam Moore. I actually have all of his ward now, and that's okay, because that's what he would have wanted it to be. And I just want to welcome you to the city of St. Louis and say I am a member of your group by all the family members that I have that belong to the Church of God in Christ. Welcome.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. Would like to echo all the honored guests that have been mentioned already, but would also like to welcome Mr. Marvin Steele as my honored guest with the Heartland Gateway St. Louis Black Business Guild.
Introduction of honored guests. Alderman from the 14th.
I love sitting next to my colleague from the 13th Ward. I forgot one person in the very back, also another good friend that is doing great work in Jefferson City lobbying on behalf of the city of St. Louis, Mr. John Gaskin in the back. Thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from the 13th.
My honored guests are the residents of the 13th Ward, and I want to thank them for being a part of this whole process and standing up and fighting.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? All right. Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes dated Friday, September 22nd, 2023.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, September 15th, 2023.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, September 22nd, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve the minutes from Friday, September 22nd, 2023. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the Google Drive for your review.
Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions? Alderwoman from the 8th?
No, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion on suspension of the rules, but not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we can dispense with line item 8, 9, 10, and 11. At this time, I'll recognize you, Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'd like to move that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Board Bill 123, which should be on everyone's desk.
Second. It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Board Bill number 123. Any discussion?
Sure, Madam President. I'll just quickly say, it's not typical to introduce a bill from the floor here, but this is an emergency measure. This is an attempt to give the city the ability to secure very large buildings, specifically the Railway Exchange building, and not only do that, but be able to have the authorization to charge the building owner for their neglect of securing a very, very large building that's causing a lot of public safety concerns in our downtown community.
Right. It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Board Bill number 123. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Brownie.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you have sustained the motion from the Alderwoman from the 8th. Madam Clerk, if you could please place Board Bill 123 at the end of the first reading of board bills.
So noted.
First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 110, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the issuance, establishment of terms, negotiated sales of special facility revenue bonds not to exceed $80 million to finance the cost of purchasing, extension, improvement, or enlargement of special airport facilities containing the severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 111, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the display advertising concession agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and the Lamar Airport Advertising Company, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1 and made a part hereof containing the severability clause. Board Bill 112, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission and the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, making a supplemental appropriation to the annual budget for fiscal year 2024, beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024, pursuant to ordinance number 71660, amounting to the sum of $1.5 million for a procurement of service listed hereto as Exhibit 1 and made a part hereof contain the severability clause. Board Bill 113, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the banking concession agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri, and U.S. Bank National Association, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1 and made a part hereof contain the severability clause. Board Bill 114, sponsored by Alderman Narayan, an ordinance of the City of St. Louis requiring employers to provide meal periods and rest breaks to employees, establishing notification and posting requirements, prohibiting retaliation against any employee for reporting violations, providing for non-interference with collective bargaining agreements, providing authority for rules and regulations, establishing record retention requirements, providing for penalties, containing the severability clause, and an effective date. Board Bill 115, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in the easternmost north-south alley in CD Block 792 in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 of the Charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 116, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance authorizing the police commissioner on behalf of the City of St. Louis to enter into and execute a grant agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation to fund the purchase of 3 radar speed trailers to replace outdated and non-repairable speed trailers, appropriating funds thereof, authorizing the police commissioner or his designee to enter into contracts and expend the funds to the extent received, containing the severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 117, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance amending ordinance number 71072 pertaining to the ordinance violation of unlawful possession of handgun by a minor under the age of 18. Board Bill 118, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance establishing a 3-way stop site at the intersection of Clara Avenue and Persian Avenue, regulating all traffic traveling north and southbound on Clara Avenue and all traffic traveling east and westbound on Persian Avenue at the intersection of Clara Avenue and Persian Avenue, and containing the emergency clause. Board Bill 119, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance creating the offense of unlawful possession of firearms with penalty provisions. Board Bill 120, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance creating the offense of unlawful transfer of weapons with penalty provisions. Board Bill 121, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on the various blocks in the First Ward. Board Bill 123, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance amending ordinance number 70794, which adopted the 2018 International Building Code with amendments by the addition of new subsection 119.3.3 to authorize the building commissioner to take steps to secure vacant buildings or structures of 500,000 or more square feet, which impose significant extensive concerns to health, safety, and well-being of the public, to prevent entry and occupancy of such buildings or structure, including the steel barriers or plates, and engaging the services of a security service provider, and the cost of such measure being paid for by the owner of the building or structure, and containing an emergency clause. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Madam Clerk, please refer 123 to HUD's.
So noted.
Reference to Committee of Board Bills.
To the Transportation and Commerce Committee, Board Bill 110, 111, 112, 113, and 14. To the Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee, Board Bill 115, 116, 118, and 121. To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 117, 119, and 120. And to the HUD's Committee, Board Bill 123. That's the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading and report of standing committees.
We have none.
Report of special committees.
We have none.
Board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill 89, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the Director the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of the St. Louis and Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the First Amendment to the concession agreement with Eventco LLC, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1, and made a part hereof containing the severability clause. Board Bill 80, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated January the 24th, 2023 for 3417 Louisiana Avenue. Board Bill 92, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in City Block 7566 as bounded by Schomeyer, Macklin, and Loughborough in the City of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with the Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 of the Charter, and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 94, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer. This ordinance pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394 directs the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic in the 56 and 5700 blocks of Dewey Avenue. That is the extent of perfection consent calendar.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the board bills on the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the board bills on the perfection consent calendar. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
Report of engrossment.
Board Bill 42 and Board Bill 88.
Third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
Board Bill 42 and Board Bill 88.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velazquez.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Brownie.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading and final passage of board bills.
Board Bill 42. I'm sorry, we have none.
Report of the finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 42 and Board Bill 88.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix her signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading of resolutions in reference to committees.
Resolution 114, sponsored by Alderman Narayan, approving the submission of an application for federal funding under the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program.
Alderman from the 4th, you're recognized on the first reading resolution number 114.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. There's been, I guess, several times now where I've come before this board to... excuse me, yes, I request unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you. I apologize for that. So there have been several times in the past year or so that I've come before this board after the flooding that affected, at that point, the 24th Ward, now the 4th Ward, which required SEMA, the City Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency, and FEMA to come in and mitigate some of the flood damage there. This resolution is something that we have to put forward in order to get some of that funding. I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. May I inquire of the Alderman from the 4th?
Alderman from the 4th, would you yield to questioning from the Alderman from the 3rd?
Sure.
Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Alderman. I'm just curious, so is this federal funding that has been directed through the administration, or is this federal funding that's been secured through the Water Department, or can you just elaborate a little bit more on the actual federal funding?
Sure. So these are grants that the administration applied for, and SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency, requires that applicants pass a resolution authorizing the submission of these applications. So the federal funding flows through the state, then to us. And so this is just another necessary step in that process that we've done a couple of these before, but it's a bit frustrating. You have an emergency, and you see the bigger governments work with all the efficiency of large government. So here we are again, trying to get some of that funding pushed through to help the local folks here.
Great, thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. To inquire of the Alderman from the 4th.
Alderman for the 4th, would you yield to questioning from the Alderman for the 14th?
Absolutely.
Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Alderman. Just a quick question. Is this funding citywide, or is it certain areas of the city that would receive this funding that was impacted by the flood?
My understanding is that this application was particularly for the area in the then 24th ward that was affected, particularly in the Ellendale neighborhood, where there were several homes that needed to be bought out because they are on floodplains, and there was severe flooding, flash flooding, that put sometimes 8 feet of water into people's homes in a matter of minutes. And so it's no longer safe for those people to reside in those homes, and so they're essentially in buyout processes.
Gotcha. I was just curious. I know that your old ward number was, like, say, very affected. I know there was other parts of the city also up north that was heavily affected from the flood. So I was just curious why the application didn't go as far to, throughout the whole city compared to just focusing on one part of the city.
And I completely understand the frustration there. I want to be clear about the fact that I did not draft this application. This is an application that was put forward by the administration, and this resolution is necessary in order to secure those funds. So I certainly didn't aim to limit the scope of the application in any way.
Yeah.
I think that it was
not pointing fingers at you, and this is first time at the board. I've heard this one in the past. Like I said, it was just curious, maybe as you continue to carry it, if it comes again, maybe echo to expand maybe where those funds can go to just help more people throughout the city. But I definitely understand the need for it. Just want to make sure we're reaching as many people as possible.
Absolutely, and I know I spoke with the Alderwoman from the 12th about this after the initial flood event, and she shared some of those frustrations, and I indicated that at that time I indicated that if any application that would be put forward, I would be the biggest cheerleader for it. Any time that a person is pushed out of their home because of a natural disaster, we do have these government agencies that everyone pays taxes into to try and grant some relief from things that no one can really foresee. And I think it's imperative that anyone affected by any of these natural disasters does see that relief. It was devastating for parts of my community. I know it was devastating for other parts of the city as well. And if and when I see those applications, I'll be the first co-sponsor on them.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, Madam President. I'm done.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. First of all, I want to say I completely support the Alderman from the 4th Ward. He is correct in about our conversation that we had, I guess, about a year ago, almost, to the day. I don't say that anybody from another neighborhood shouldn't get what's coming to them. I support that. I also support that same thing should be happening in North St. Louis. Now, a year later, nothing has happened, not one thing, even though the people went underwater just like that. And I want to name names in the mayor's office. Nancy Cross applied for this. I actually went and got the applications. But it is the mayor's responsibility to represent the entire city. And when you do things like this, people in North St. Louis see. And in case you don't understand, they have an alderperson that does her homework and research. Okay, so you heard this a year ago. Here you come with a second part of an application, but you're not doing anything in North St. Louis. That's prejudice. That's racism. That's ridiculous. That makes no sense at all. Now, if the mayor is supporting this, then she needs to go. And if she's not, then she needs to fire Nancy Cross. I have the application. I'm going to be sharing this kind of thing. This is the things that are wrong. It is nothing wrong with the alderman from the 4th. He is doing what he should be doing, which is looking after the people in his community. But the mayor's office is not doing what they should be doing, which is looking after the entire city. In fact, over in my area on Abner Place, it was underwater. We have these big basins in North St. Louis because they don't dig under North St. Louis like they do in other parts of the city. They just buy out neighborhoods and blocks. And then they put these basins. And then over in Abner Place behind Union, they put these basins, and I challenged them when I first came back in 2013 and said, but what about these basins? And they said, oh, they will be a 100-year flood. And I said, well, what if we get a 101-year flood? That will never happen. Except for last July, it did happen. And so all these people, they've bought part of a neighborhood out. They got about 20 more houses, MSD. They're fighting me tooth and nail. The mayor's not trying to help. Nobody's trying to help, except for the mayor and the Congressman Cori Bush. When we set up an event to help the people, they showed up for the press conference and took pictures and asked about where I was. I was at home sick. I did it from laying in my bed sick, getting blood transfusions, but I couldn't get any help from the mayor's office. But here was the mayor and the congresswoman showing up for press conference and has done nothing to help those people. And I'm going to keep bringing that up. And I will, anybody from the press that wants to see the application, I have them. They were notified that they didn't do it. And if they didn't, the alderman and I had a conversation on the floor of the Board of Aldermen, and this is ridiculous that we would have this. I want to thank the alderman from the 14th for bringing it up. But he didn't have to, because I was going to bring it up again, but not to say that I don't support the alderman from the 4th. I don't support acting like one part of the city is more important than the all. We are all a total city, and if you do not look out for all of the city, then you ought to be ashamed of yourself, and you should not be a citywide elected official. And so to have this come up for a second part and you've not done anything is ridiculous. I want to also add that since that time, we've had 5 storms since June 1st over in North St. Louis. It has been a fight to get anything done over there. There was no declare of asking the governor for a national disaster. There was no national emergency. There was no calling of everybody in the city to pick up anything. There was absolutely nothing done. And then the other day I get something from the mayor's. I'm not going to say the person said, oh, we want to help with the storm. Really? We've been having storms for 5 months now, been devastating our community. And I've been running around for 5 months helping people get tarps for their houses, replacing roofs, getting contractors with absolutely no help from Room 200. So this is not the alderman from the 4th's fault. I support his resolution fully. It is what should be done responsibly, and it should be done all over the city. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to thank the Alderwoman from the 12th Ward for speaking truth to power this morning about this situation. North Side wards were heavily hit. I personally was without power for 5 days and under a boil order with all of the residents of my community. There was no help. There was no response from our city government to assist thousands of people without power, thousands of people without adequate water, thousands of people who suffered through record-breaking heat. And there was no relief. There were no cooling centers, no response at all. And I spoke about this back when it first happened during our last session. My community is angry. My community is hurt that the people that they have sent to represent them, to care for them, have been absent during this time. It is unacceptable. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 4th, would you like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 114?
Thank you, Madam President. I make a move that we adopt resolution number 114.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt resolution number 114. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 115, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, President Green, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, and Alderman Browning, supporting the members of the Progressive Workers Union.
Alderwoman from the 7th, you are recognized on the first reading resolution number 115.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Can I ask that the clerk read the resolution into the record?
Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
Resolution 115, whereas the Sierra Club has a foundational belief in and commitment to good paying green jobs that are centered on the meaningful work of mitigating a climate crisis by preparing communities for climate change, fuel disasters, and increasing access to outdoors for all, while also ensuring those jobs provide just and equitable compensation and benefits and ensure a safe, dignified working environment. Whereas the Sierra Club and Progressive Workers Union will soon begin negotiation on a successor collective bargaining agreement following difficult impact bargaining negotiations and a tumultuous restructuring that has impacted community partners and those we serve. Whereas the Sierra Club previously entered into collective bargaining agreement with the Progressive Workers Union, which represent approximately 400 of the 800 employees of the Sierra Club before layoffs. And whereas the Progressive Workers Union has remained steady in their demands to be included in negotiating and the terms of organizational restructuring, despite a president of the union working in good faith with the Sierra Club, and whereas both the members of the Progressive Workers Union and the non-union employees of the Sierra Club deserve fair compensation and working conditions, and members of the union have reported retaliation by the Sierra Club as a result of their organizing. Whereas the Sierra Club has publicly pledged to stand in solidarity with striking United Auto Worker Union employees at the Winsville General Motors plant, as has the Board of Aldermen. Whereas a swift and just resolution will benefit hundreds of nonprofit employees and workers. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Honorable Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that the Board of Aldermen supports the unionized workers and the union leaders of the Progressive Workers Union in their negotiation for a successor collective bargaining agreement with the union, and the Board of Aldermen urges the Sierra Club to negotiate in good faith and reach a swift and just resolution with the Progressive Workers Union. We further direct the Clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings, to prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented to the honoree at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 29th day of September 2023 by the Honorable Alicia Sanye, Alderwoman of the 7th Ward, the Honorable Megan E. Green, President of the Board of Aldermen, the Honorable Shameen Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman of the 10th Ward, and the Honorable Michael Browning, Alderman of the 9th Ward.
Thank you. Alderwoman from the 7th, would you like to request unanimous consent?
Yes. I would like to make a motion. I would like a motion for unanimous consent.
Seeing no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I know most of us are familiar with the Sierra Club. They do amazing work in our community around environmental justice. Many of us, we've been having all these resolutions around laborers and unions and saying hot labor fall and that we stand with workers. And I've had several conversations with employees at Sierra Club who are in the process now of trying to start a union. And simultaneously, while there's conversations of higher up administratives coming here to stand with UAW workers, they are punishing and threatening their workers for the right to union. So I want to pass this resolution because, again, as a board, I think it's important that we stand with our workers, but also I think it's important that as political leaders, we make sure that labor rights is not a performative practice, that when we say that people have the right to unionize, they do, and we make sure that the organizations that are right here in our own community are practicing that, and when they don't, we put pressure on them. And I especially want to highlight how hypocritical it is to go and stand with other organizations, but then to not support your own employees for trying to fight for their right to unionize. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I want to thank the Alderwoman from the 7th for bringing this. I think it's really important to stand with workers who are seeking to collectively bargain, whether it's UAW, whether it's Starbucks, or even an organization that I support and like the Sierra Club. We're in a time and place where we're seeing more and more workers seek to unionize and engage in collective bargaining, and regardless of who the entity that they work for, I'm always going to be on their side with their right to collectively bargain. And with that, I would ask to please be added as a co-sponsor.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I'd ask if the Alderwoman from the 7th would yield.
Yes.
7th yield to questioning from the Alderwoman from the 12th.
Yes.
So,
Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you. Alderwoman, I'm trying to understand. So when I'm reading the second paragraph, it says the Sierra Club and Progressive Workers Union will soon begin to negotiate on a successor collective bargaining agreement. So has the Sierra Club indicated they're not going to be working in good faith? Because I'm just wondering, are we putting this a little too soon? Is there been some indication that there would not be a fair negotiation?
Yes, Alderwoman from the 12th. These matters are difficult because these are employees who are trying to start that process. And so, they're a little nervous, but they have indicated, several of them to me, that they are trying to start this process and are getting a lot of pushback and threats from administration and higher ups.
So, there's always two sides to everything. Have we heard from the Sierra Club that that's not what they're going to do? Because when I read your resolution, it says before they've entered into a collective bargaining agreement with the Progressive Workers Union. What would indicate they wouldn't do that? I mean, and of course, when you're negotiating, there's going to be on both sides pushback, But is there something really that indicates they wouldn't do that? Because, as you said, many of us have worked with the Sierra Club, and so if I'm a lawyer and you're a lawyer and we're negotiating, until we really make some indication we're not going to work together, I'm kind of a little, I don't know, I don't necessarily know if I want to get in the middle of that if it's just that they're having negotiations. Okay, that's what I want to say. I want to hear something more affirmative, like, well, we're not going to give you this or we're not going to do this, more like what's going on with the UAW and the car makers or something like that. A little pushback doesn't mean they're not going to do it. It means you're negotiating. So I just need to hear, is there something solid that we would say that at the end of the day, Sierra Club is not going to do what they're supposed to do?
So I hold faith that the Sierra Club will negotiate and will engage in this process, but there has been some retaliation that has happened just for the startings of conversations and to get it going. So for me, this resolution is about, like I mentioned, making sure that we're letting them know we understand this is happening and we support you doing this. I do think, like you said, when negotiations happen, this happens, but obviously power dynamics are a real thing, and it's hard for the workers and the employees to start these conversations if you're already getting punishment and you're already getting retaliation and you're already getting pushback and you haven't even officially formally started your negotiation. You have to have the higher ups agree to engage with you in that process. and participate. And so from my understanding, that's where they are in this process. So I don't think that, for me, this is a way for us to let them know that we support this, that this have come to us, and to encourage them to do the right thing. I think I would hope that in a few weeks we talk about how they've come to an agreement and they've figured this out. But I think sometimes workers need their elected officials to stand with them and to help them apply pressure from a power that they don't have.
And so going to this thing of retaliation, since they already have an agreement, and I don't understand unless they're saying they don't want to have another agreement, why would they be retaliating against somebody who's just starting something that's already in place? Have you talked to the Sierra Club at all?
I have. I've had several conversations with the Sierra Club, and I'm trying to respect their request of anonymity and their real fear that they've expressed for me for retaliation. I've talked to people on both ends and let them know that I would be writing this and would be proposing that we do this as a board.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 7th, would you like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 115?
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 115.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th, I think, or 4th, 4th, that we adopt Resolution number 115. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Orion.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Keys. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion for the Alderwoman from the 7th to adopt Resolution number 115. Second reading of resolutions. I move that the meeting of the full Board of Aldermen be closed to the public under the provisions of 610.0213 and 610.022 of the Missouri Revised Statutes in order to permit the members of the board to discuss matters relating to the hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of employees of the Board of Aldermen. Is there a second? Seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th. Or 13th, sorry. By the 13th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. If STL TV could please turn off the cameras, and anybody that is not an alderman, please vacate the chambers. Yep. Are we good? Ready? All right. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Tuesday, October 3rd, Transportation and Commerce will have a meeting via webinar at 9 a.m. Wednesday, October 4th, 2023, Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee will have a webinar at 3:30 p.m. Thursday, October 5th, 2023, Health and Human Development will have a webinar at 9 a.m. Friday, October 6th, full board meeting, 1520 Market, second floor conference room at 10 a.m. That's the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We also have a Budget and Public Employees Committee hearing on Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. It should be on this calendar.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Just want to remind the great people of the mighty 5th and unique 11th, I just gave you a name, elevated 11th Ward, that we will be having a joint town hall this up and coming Thursday at the Firehouse at the intersection of Cass and Jefferson to discuss some legislation that encompass both my ward as well as the elevated alderwoman from the 11th Ward. And then alderwoman from the Power of 10 brought up the passing of one of our marshals, Mr. Tony Brown. One of the marshals wanted me to let the Board of Aldermen know and the general public that October 1st, this Sunday at 12 noon, they will be doing a balloon release on the front steps of City Hall in honor of Mr. Brown. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
Pass the mic. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to just kind of take a few minutes to acknowledge the work that was done this past Saturday. Along with the help of city residents, over 1,000 tires were taken off of our city streets for Tire Amnesty Day. I especially want to thank my esteemed colleague, Alderwoman from the 12th Ward, Sharon Tyus, who was generous and donated gas gift cards. This was a great program. We hope to expand it and roll it out across our city until tires are no longer a problem. So please put on your thinking caps. This is a challenge. Put on your thinking caps so that we can figure out how we can stop this thing from happening. This is a major eyesore for our city, that tires are regularly discarded throughout our city. After all of our efforts Saturday, I'm driving down St. Louis Avenue and at Elliott and St. Louis Avenue, here 9 tires stacked up right at a light post. So that's how bad it is. As much as we have done, there's yet still more work to do. And I challenge you all to join the fight so that we can get our city cleaned up. Additionally, a wonderful program was held this past Thursday evening honoring Hispanic Heritage Month. I attended that and want to give kudos to the alderwoman of the 6th Ward. Thank you. The sassy 6th Ward. For all of her work and connections to the Hispanic community. It was a beautiful and well-attended program. Additionally, I'd like to take a few moments of silence on behalf of Senator Dianne Feinstein, who has ended her service with us as a country. At 90 years old, she has passed away. Additionally, the granddaughter of Nelson Mandela, Zolika Mandela, has died of cancer at age 43. So again, we thank all of these women, strong women, suffragettes, for their service to the nation and to our country. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to acknowledge that National Night Out is October 2nd. And so I know that the 3rd, thank you, October 3rd, in the Sassy 6th and across the city. So I know that the 6th Ward is going to have quite a few block parties, and I'm sure I'd encourage you all to check out what's going on in your own ward and celebrate a moment with your neighbors and friends.
Alderwoman from the 13th.
Thank you, Alderwoman, for reminding me. It's too much going on, I'm telling you, in this city. October the 3rd, the 13th Ward has started to do something that's unique, and we're trying to bring as many people in the community together. So we're going to have National Night Out in 3 parks simultaneously on that day. It will be at Greg Carter Park, it will be at Hickey Park, and it will be at Bear Brothers Park. And so we're looking for our residents of the 13th Ward to participate in those activities. And so we'll have entertainment actually from those areas. And then we'll have free food, we'll have music, we'll have games, we'll have giveaways. And so we're excited to bring the community together in a partnership. And then on September the 30th, Better Family Life will have a Light Up the Night campaign, and they have distributed over 2,000 purple light bulbs, and people have signed up to recognize the people that have been lost in violence and drugs. Thank you. Oh, 5514 page. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Oh, this end, we just kind of feel some kind of way because we've been had our hands up forever. So we're kind of saying, I'm going to pass to the Alderwoman from the 7th since the Alderwoman from the 6th and the 13th took everything I was going to say. But I just want to take up for this end. We do exist down here.
I love solidarity.
You gotta use our mics down there.
Oh.
The 7th.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I wanted to say that Micah Project is opening on Cherokee at 2650 Cherokee. The Micah Project, they do legal services and all sorts of advocacy for our immigrant community, and they will be coming to the Shimmery 7th. So I would want to make sure that folks know about that's coming, and that will be this coming Thursday at 5 o'clock. I also want to make sure that I tell everyone who's watching, and we should tell all of our constituents, that there's amnesty on parking. So if you have a parking ticket and it's been, escalated up to, I've heard some people $160, $300, your Alderwoman's not going to tell on you. But if you go online right now, all of those extra fees and penalties for sitting for so long have been waived. But just make sure that you go log on, and then you will only have to pay for the actual initial fee of your parking ticket. And of course, the RAM settlement, I want to encourage folks to go and fill out that platform and fill out that survey. I know some of my colleagues, particularly Alderwoman Keys, was an advocate for potentially extending that timeline, so we are taking a look at that as well, and I wanted to let you all know that. And also, Alders, you should have an email with a link to the paper copy of the RAM settlement to help you distribute that out. And then we'll also be having some conversations about some intentional canvassing engagement, because as we know, when you do things online, it's not accessible to everybody, and so we want to do what we can to go out and go directly to where people are. Thank you. And and our next set public meeting for RAM settlement is October 25th, but I'll be reminding you every week. And that concludes my announcements.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 10th and then the 11th.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madam President, members of the board. I want to announce a meeting, 11 a.m. HUD's meeting on Tuesday to hear Board Bill 123. And I also want to announce on Saturday there will be a screening of the Target St. Louis movie that was done by our very own Damian Smith here, where we passed the resolution here a while back from the Facts Group, and that will be at Union Memorial United Methodist Church, 1141 Belt at Bartmer, and it will be from 1 to 3 p.m. I also would like to announce and congratulate our Deputy Comptroller, LaTanya Kenner. Godspeed, sis. The best is yet to come.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
Oh, go ahead and clap. I didn't want to get in the way of a good applause. But not to, I did not want to be remiss. You know, whenever you get up here and you start thanking people for stuff, inevitably, you're going to forget someone. And so I want to make sure that I acknowledge Christian Miser, who is an NIS, who does a wonderful, wonderful job. It was he who first started collecting the tires, and then I came on board and we began to brainstorm. We came up with things like Tired of Tires Tuesdays, and we came up with Tire Amnesty Day, but additionally, you know, there were other people who came on board to help. Nobody does anything. All of us up here, we don't do this alone. We have people who care for us, who want to be part of solutions, and they come along to help us. Sometimes it comes in the form of them just doing their job, and then there are those who come along and they go that step that is above and beyond, and we want to acknowledge them. I want to acknowledge my legislative assistant, Dr. Marlene Davis, who was in the fight and struggle with us all day on Saturday and provided those delicious Pharaoh's donuts that we didn't really need, but we ate them anyway. So, Collector of Revenue, Greg Daly, who assisted us with providing those gas gift cards. They were well received by the residents who brought in tires. You know, just having that carrot and stick approach and having wonderful people like Alderwoman Tyus and Greg to step up and say, hey, let me help you out a little bit. I appreciate that. We want to make sure that we are acknowledging all of the people who assisted. There was Darius, and I hate to get up here and start calling off names because, again, I know I'm going to forget somebody. But Michael Von Gobel and his partner, Paul, they came and assisted us. Karen Crawford, you know, just so many people. And if I'm not calling your name, please charge it to my head and not to my heart. I am truly, truly appreciative to all of you for all of your hard work. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm seeing a committee man, John Watson, who came and assisted as well. But again, there are so many people. But you know, I didn't unfortunately bring in a list. But please know that I am very appreciative, and our city thanks all of you for your help. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President. Like Alderwoman Keys said, when we do this, we inevitably are going to make errors, and I made an error. The MICA project grant opening is actually on October 4th from 4 to 7 p.m. at 2650 Cherokee. So not Thursday, it'll be on Wednesday.
Right. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 10th, I will recognize you on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we excuse the alderman from the 2nd for necessary absence.
Second. It's been moved by the alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the alderman from the 14th, that we excuse the alderman from the 2nd for necessary absence. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adjourn until Friday, September 29th, 2023 at 1520 Market on the second floor.
October the 6th.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adjourn until Friday, October 6th, 2023, 1520 on the second floor conference room.
It's been moved by the alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the alderman from the 3rd, that we adjourn until Friday, October 6th, 2023 at 1520 Market. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
That was my fault.